All right, traders, welcome to the end of week video. It is Friday, February 12th, and we got a long weekend coming up. So I always enjoy doing the end of day videos. For me, it's a nice summary and way to kind of collect my thoughts and talk about market observations. But especially when we get to the end of the week, because our work is done for the week, can kind of kick back a little bit, relax, before we get started for the following week, and and kind of come up with some new ideas for next week. But, overall, I would say, a little bit choppy towards the end of the week, especially for the indices. But, we continue to find some nice trade setups. You had to be a little bit more nimble and maybe a little bit more selective this week. I think always when the indices, when the major indices, the S&P, the Qs, IWM, when they start to go sideways a little bit, you have to. I always talk about making adjustments in these videos, right? You have to make some adjustments a little bit because if the majority of stocks go sideways, right, there are going to be some names that underperform, some that outperform. You don't really want to own the whole market, right? You want to be a little bit more, so you really want to go after the trades that are jumping off the page in terms of setup. And if they're not jumping off the page, maybe not take those trades. They're average looking setups that you're like, oh, hey, there's some option activity on the tape, this could work. Maybe avoid those trades a little bit and concentrate on the ones that you've been really kind of stalking and think that they're pretty good setups. In addition, I think and also with that too, what I try to avoid when the indices chop a little bit is short-term options, right? They could still work for some trades, but it's just harder, right? You want to just understand where the overall market is and what it's doing, and then realize that when everything is going up, or when there's when there's really good momentum in the market, you have more chances that trades are going to work if you're playing to the long side. If the indices go sideways, it's going to be a little bit harder. And sometimes one of the observations that I see, and where I've made adjustments over the years, is that sometimes I see traders give back profits when the market goes sideways just because they're over trading a little bit. So those are little things, but they make those little adjustments can end up really affecting your bottom line. Overall week, we did finish positively. A couple remarks, looking at the indices. And by the way, the risk disclaimer is right here. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any recommendations or advice. This is strictly for education purposes only. But I would say also that this market, I say this a lot, we're in a very blessed market, right? We know that the Fed is continuing to kind of be there. They haven't made any changes. We heard Powell speak earlier in the week, said nothing about, pumping the brakes on stimulus or anything like that. So for now, it's business as usual. And, it's basically, making those little bit of adjustments. But a couple days this week, we saw some sell programs wash through. But I mean, we really we held support in every one of those little sell programs. They were very quick, right? We saw one, the biggest one was Wednesday, right, where we kind of touched the top of, we came right into support for the week and held it beautifully. So this was, so even though we had a little bit of these bumps in the road, here's another one where we tested again, and I talked about this pre-market that I wanted to see as kind of get away from that, and look at how we ended for the week, right? And we saw that a couple days this week where there's just a lot of buying going into the close, pretty different. So it is what it is. I mean, it's funny because a lot of that move, we would have ended up positive for the week, but just fractionally. Here's what the performance looks like for the week, right? Up 1.3%. Diamonds finished up about the same, so the Dow, but small caps and the Qs outperformed, but small caps finished up another 2.5% for the week. International markets. If you compare this to the S&P, international markets, both emerging and international developed, right, which is EFA, both outperformed the S&P for the week. So nice, but I think a lot of traders realized, this move in the Chinese, not just Chinese stocks, but just a lot of emerging markets, right? A lot of emerging markets really performed very well, and continuing to have momentum to them. Interesting too for the move in bonds, right? Bonds were basically positive for the whole week, and then they sold off. And gold, not much of a move there. We'll talk about some of these sectors in a second, but yeah, so we resolved ourselves higher, and I'm very pleased at how, like, my trading has been going too. I try as much as possible to practice what I preach, but it's tough sometimes. Sometimes you go a little bit outside the lines, right? So I like to take snapshots of my trading account for obviously at the end of the month, and I post it every month. That's something that I started to do back in the beginning of 2020. And part of the reason why I've done that and decided to do that is because number one, is to be transparent, right? I do run a trading service, but number two is I see a lot of I think it's just the right thing to do if you're running a trading service, right? Is to be reporting that. So I do that at the end of the month, and I also update it on this sheet, and update members at the half point of the month, which, believe it or not, we are at the half point of the month, right? So obviously we have off on Monday, right? Oops. So here's what the calendar looks like. Today's the 12th. Monday is a holiday. That's the 15th. So performance is kind of in the books. But yeah, I'm up, after having, an okay January, not really didn't really live up to what the performance that I was looking for in January, but have recovered quite nicely. So I'm up 28% for the year. So I'm pleased. I'm very pleased with that, considering, like I said, my January was just okay. The TTG Trend Portfolio, I have to update that. And then the watch list program, were, another nice week of gains in that, right? So I should have that up here someplace. Let's see if I can bring that up. All right, here's our master spreadsheet. So you can see that this, we strike this at the open on Monday, not the close on Friday, up 3.3%, right? And that's what SPY did, again, from the open. I do hold SPY over the weekend, right? So I did get, that added performance in there, but some really nice performers in here. More names up over 10%. Look at CENX. This damn Cliffs Resources was up really nice, but until I think they announced the secondary earlier in the week, which brought them down. So that's the risk sometimes. I had XME in here, which is the metals ETF, took it out, but I think that actually would have worked a little bit better. But I did have some emerging markets exposure. I added that to the watch list trade this week. Those both performed very well. Chewy was a late mover today, broke out to new highs, so up 6%. But a lot of names, we had Airbnb up 6%. INSP, new name for the watch list, was up 5% for the week. Had a solar name in there. Shop was up almost 12% for the week. Snow actually finished down for the week, so did not follow through like I wanted it to. But that's why we include 22 names. TGTX was completely flat too. Made such a nice move on Friday, but gave it back, down 14% for the week. Fastly also a dud for the week. But again, more winners. We had things like Teradyne in here. Square was up double digits. I mentioned Shop already too. So some nice performers. Reggie actually gave back some gains. This name was up about 11% at one point during the week. But so again, overall, we're continuing to chug, higher here in this portfolio. So, it's been working really well. Other standouts for today, I didn't really talk too much about the performance, but energy stocks did pretty well today. Also, I put a new ETF on here. Mine as well, right? The blockchain crypto ETF was up 5.3% today. Pretty amazing, right? So I'll have that added on here too. Obviously, pot stocks. And if you look at by the way, the semis also did quite well for the day. They were up another 1%. I talked about that in last week's sorry, in yesterday's video. Sorry, I'm trying to read something else on the side of my screen. But they finished quite well for today, up 1%. So nice strength after yesterday's move. So yeah, I'd say really nice, obviously performance at the end of the day. If we shift over to the performance for the week, which I said I would come back to, blockchain, crypto. So again, I added this in our weekly sheet as well, up 23%. So this pleases me a lot because I added this in the TTG Trend Portfolio last week. So up 23% in that portfolio. There's that performance for the semis again, very strong this week, broke out to new highs. Also, the transports did very well today too. Kind of two areas that I like to see for confirming what's going on in the market. So here's your semis closing on the absolute high for the week, right? 255. Nice breakout here, but take a look at what the transports did too. They came alive after breaking below the 50-day moving average a couple weeks ago. They've been doing very well. Now they're hitting a little bit of resistance here, but still, FedEx saw a call buyer earlier in the week. FedEx really interesting, right? We talked about this one in the Q&A session earlier, the Tribeca Trade Group Q&A session earlier today. But take a look. We took out this VPOC. All of January, this thing was kind of under pressure. Had a little bit of a bounce to it. Finally, again, this is why this is why I love this MarketWebs indicator. Took out the version point of control and did a reversal. Right. Very nice. So I don't have a position in this thing now, but I'm kind of interested. Big day today, up 3.4%, and now you've got something to trade against. Right, you've got the top of value and possibly the 50-day moving average, which since it lost it in December has not been above there. So interesting. The rails got going today too. Look at UNP. Big day, up almost 3% there in the rails, which basically have been going sideways for a couple months too. So interesting to see them come alive today. And again, I like to see those two areas of the market, act very strong as they did. Chinese internet names up 6.8%. Pot stocks all over the place this week, but they did finish up 5% from last week, so still positive, but roller coaster ride for that group of stocks. Robotic stocks up 4%. Dirty energy looks like outperformed clean energy. I'll have to see where clean energy finished, but I don't have it on the top gainers. Or you know what? It's possibly not in this watch list, but still interesting to see energy up 5% for the week. There's solar right below it, up 4% for the week. Banks were also in there too, amongst the leaders, up 3%, and then you got metals and mining up 3% for the week. So when you look at some of the underperformers, some defensive, not all. You had utilities down 1.5%, staples flat for the week, right? Telecom stocks underperformers up fractionally. One thing that I thought was also interesting from a sector basis, and I talked about this too, and I think in the pre-market session, why sometimes I actually want stocks to come down a little bit. Look at where this XBI Biotech ETF is. We've got 4 red days in a row. So, I'm looking for this thing to maybe get to the 20-day moving average. I don't know if it goes that far, but the further it goes down, nice healthy uptrend, right? So the further it comes into support, the more attractive it gets. So that's the whole thing. I talked about earlier in the day that, I was talking about the overall market in the S&P chart and how I was, close to 50-50 for what my conviction level for whether we go higher or lower here. We were looking like it was going to be a third doji in a row. Obviously that changed at the end of the day, but so in my mind, I'm having a little bit of indecision on which way we go. My how I'm tactically handling that is reducing the overall number of trades I have on, but staying in sectors that are showing relative strength, like the semiconductors, for example. So I'm in a couple of those names. I'm in Micron. I got out of my Skyworks position today because I didn't want to get super overloaded in semis, but I got out of my Skyworks trade for positives today. I took some profits in Nvidia today too, but I'm in Micron and Marvell right now, right? Which we saw a lot of call positioning, which did increase open interest yesterday. So nice move in Marvell. I took a target in that one. Micron, like I said, I'm still long. Micron came out to new highs today too. So I'm taking, trying to take profits along the way. Here's my trades for the day. I always like to show that. I was stalking just like, kind of similar looking chart to forgetting about today's green bar, but just like I was talking about with XBI, right? The biotech ETF in the chart that I just showed a minute ago, right? Penn broke out, came back and perfectly retested support. I think I may have mentioned it in yesterday's video. Today I got into it, right? So here's my entry in Penn, right? 113, and was able to take a target at 118, right? So took my first target in that one. Right. I'm also looking for a little bit of financials. I positioned a little bit here in Goldman. It's not my favorite chart setup because it's gone up. I haven't. I traded this one a couple weeks ago and made some profits. I actually like this chart a little bit better. I like Alley. So again, a little bit extended. Right. SIVB is another one. Right. But I think at this point, looking at what bonds are doing, which we talked about this pre-market, basically a nice signal to short the bonds, right? So here's our break of value, come back and retest, and then fail at the bottom of value for the month, and there we go. There's our down move. So where could this be going down to eventually? Maybe down here. Right, so 162. Again, this is the long bond future, and maybe down here too. Now, remember, is this going to be real? I know that the bonds are getting a lot of attention about because rates are doing something different. Right, they're moving higher, but put it in perspective. Right, and I talked about this in an earlier video this week. Right, this is where we were in February of last year. Nobody was really worried about interest rates then, so why would you worry about it if they get down to here? Just putting that in perspective. Also kind of interesting today, the VIX, I think it did close below 20, which again kind of makes intuitive sense if you look at what the S&P did for this week, right? It wasn't that big of, 2 days, almost 3 days, we went sideways, right? You have to remember what the VIX measures, short-term implied volatility, right? And if the market goes sideways, then the VIX should not be high, right? So keep that in mind too. If the VIX sorry, let me say that again. If the S&P goes sideways, meaning not up, not down, what do you think will happen to the VIX? It will drop, right? Because the market's just not moving. So bear that in mind. Some people think that just because that when the VIX goes down, it means that equities are going higher. Not always. That's again. Remember what it measures. It measures the implied volatility of short-term options in the S&P. That's all the VIX measures, right? So if the S&P flatlines, the VIX will go down. Okay, so just so keep that in the back of your mind. What else did I do today? You could see not a lot of trading. I really didn't want to do too much. I did add an Uber trade, right? Sometimes I see some things on the tape that I get tempted into. But I like that I'm seeing a lot of call activity. There was a lot of these September options that traded today. I think at one point it was close to 13,000. If I'm looking at the right, Let's see how many. Yeah, 15,000 of the September 70 calls. And I like when they position like that, right? They're going out far. So that to me is, I like to capitalize on longer term trends. And, I think Uber has kind of made it through some of the more severe times. And I think it's a nice reopening type trade. So I took the trade, and we'll see how it goes. But again, I like to see the call buying after earnings. On a tiny bit of a dip, right, checking back into the support. And some people who follow option activity, they like the short term stuff. I'm more of a swing trader, so I do like how to see the positioning and longer term stuff. All right, so video is about 20 minutes. Here's international. Again, a lot of nice performers there. China leading the way, and yeah, so some good performance. We'll have a lot of setups to go over. We'll be putting together either Sunday or Monday because we have Monday off, our new watch list for the week. But I've already got a couple names picked out, and we'll be ready to go for next week with a new watch list. You can gain full access to everything that we're doing. Again, if you're not familiar with what our programs are, right? Let me bring this up in Slack. We're very organized. You can see all the different channels that we have for members to kind of peruse through. But right, so you can click on here, right? So the watch list trade that I've been going over, right? That is one of our products that we do, right? Along with the TTG Trend Portfolio, which has 30. We have 34 names in it now, but the flagship account is my trading account, right? So that's the top account. That's the account that's the numbers that I put out on Twitter every beginning of the month. But yeah, that's how I'm trading the market, right? Trading account where it's obviously faster moving, mostly swing trading in there. The TTG Trend Portfolio, which is for longer term trend following. And then we have the weekly watch list trade, which is a fun way to participate in some short-term moves. And again, it really keeps me challenged every week, motivated to kind of get names to to do what they're doing, to try to outperform the S&P every week. So I think we've got a really good platform. Again, Tribeca Trade Group members had a hell of a week this week, but yeah, here's how you get full access to everything. You just go to my profile, click on the link, and you can sign up here. All right. So hope to see you guys in the trading room, and obviously if you sign up over the weekend, you'll get our new watch list ready to go for the next week. All right, guys, have a wonderful long weekend. Enjoy it, relax a little bit, exercise. Maybe have a couple drinks too. That's what I'll be doing. Enjoy your long weekend. Thanks, everybody.